Welcome back. Today, we're diving into something really exciting: how to design lessons that use text, audio, video, and all those cool interactive elements to make learning feel alive and, most importantly, accessible for every single one of your students. So let's start with this question right here. This is really what it's all about. This isn't just about adding some flashy graphics for the sake of it. No, it's about being thoughtful, about designing with purpose so that every student can find their way into the material. Let's keep this question in mind as we go.
So why even bother with multimedia? Well, because when you do it right, it's a total game changer. Of course, it grabs attention and it works for all kinds of different learning styles, but here's the really powerful part. It can actually reduce cognitive load. It helps the brain by showing and telling, which makes complex ideas so much easier to understand. It's all about opening that door to learning for everyone.
All right, so let's see what this actually looks like in practice. For our first case study, we're going to look at how a dynamic video can bring a pretty complicated science topic to life.
Okay, so meet Lena. She's got to teach photosynthesis, which, can be a little abstract for students. So instead of a standard lecture, she's flipping the classroom. That means her students watch a really cool animated video at home to get the main ideas. This frees up all that precious class time for the fun stuff, hands-on activities, and really digging into their questions. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this lines up perfectly with the TPACK framework. That's technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. Look at how seamlessly it all works together. The content is photosynthesis, the pedagogy is her flipped classroom model, and the technology is that animated video. See? None of them are working in isolation. They're all boosting each other.
So take a second and think about your own classroom. What's that one topic that students always seem to get stuck on? Just imagine, how could a quick, clear animation finally make that concept click for them?
Okay, dynamic content is one thing, but let's shift gears to something even more critical: inclusive design. We're going to see how this plays out in an English language arts class. Now let's meet Omar. He's so excited for his students to analyze poetry, but his class is full of diverse learners with all kinds of needs. So his big challenge is making sure every single student can get into these poems on an equal footing.
And this just brilliantly shows how technology can create real inclusion. His tech choices, like digital texts that have audio, captions, and text-to-speech options, directly fuel his teaching style, which is all about collaborative discussion. This means students with different needs aren't just getting an accommodation, they have everything they need to jump right into the conversation and share their ideas.
And this brings us to a huge takeaway. Accessibility can't be the last thing you think about. It has to be woven into your lesson design from the very first thread. It's not an extra, it is the foundation of fair and equitable learning. So what about you? Take a moment to think about your own lessons. What are some of the potential hurdles for your students? And what kind of digital tools could you use to help them clear those hurdles? All right, for our last case study, we're going to talk about something awesome: turning students from just passive consumers of information into active builders of their own knowledge. Let's head to a history class. This is Sophia, and she does not want her students to just memorize a bunch of dates about ancient civilizations. She wants them to be historians, to explore, to ask big questions, and to build their own understanding of the past. And check this out, the technology is what unlocks her whole teaching method. Instead of listening to a lecture, her students are getting their hands dirty, digitally speaking. They're playing with interactive timelines, moving things around on drag-and-drop maps. They aren't just learning about history, they're actually building it and seeing it for themselves. So this is the challenge for all of us, right? Think about a resource you already use, maybe a great video or a primary source document. How could you add just one layer of interactivity to get students doing something with it instead of just watching or reading? Okay, we have seen some absolutely fantastic examples. But how do you actually do this? How can you apply these ideas right now? Let's walk through a super simple 4-step blueprint you can use for your very next lesson.
It's really just 4 steps. First, know your goal. Always start with what you want students to learn, not with the shiny new tech. Second, pick your tools to match that goal. Third, and listen, this one is non-negotiable. Make sure it's accessible from the get-go. And finally, sketch out the interaction. How are students going to actively engage with this stuff, not just consume it? So when you put it all together, when that TPACK framework meets thoughtful multimedia design, this is what happens. Your lessons just become better.
they're more engaging, they're way more inclusive, and honestly, they're just more effective at helping students really learn and remember.
So where do we go from here? Well, make sure you join us for our final episode because we are going to take everything we've talked about and actually design a complete digital lesson from scratch. We're going to bring it all together.
But before you go, I want to leave you with one last question. You don't have to change everything overnight. Just think about this. What is one small, manageable multimedia step you can take this week to make just one of your lessons a little more inclusive for your students?